I'm Edie Lush, and I'm here inside the Hub Culture Studio, Davos 2023, here with Chris Gorell Barnes. Thanks for coming along.
Pleasure.
So we're going to talk about bringing the ocean into the conversation today. You're the co-founder of the Blue Marine Foundation and Ocean 14 Capital?
Correct, yes.
Okay, so tell me, in this conversation that we're having all week long around collaboration in a fragmented world, how does the ocean fit into that?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. It's great to be here, and it's always important to talk about the oceans when you're in the mountains. And I think that the ocean hasn't been included enough in the conversations at WEF, and you're starting to see it get a voice. You saw that at COP in Sharm el-Sheikh. It finally had a presence, and now at the World Economic Forum, there's some splinter events happening about the ocean. So there is something in the main tent about marine protected areas in 30 by 30, and Ocean 14 Capital is hosting an event on the blue economy. And it's very, very important that we do have a sustainable and regenerative blue economy, because the ocean economy is equivalent to the size of the 7th largest country's GDP. So it's a $3 trillion economy that is really overlooked by investors. But if we don't have a sustainable and regenerative blue economy, we have no chance of protecting and restoring the ocean. And if we don't have a healthy marine ecosystem, unfortunately, we have zero chance of protecting the planet from the pressures of the climate crisis. And therefore, we won't have an opportunity to protect humanity. So arguably, it's the most important investment thesis of our time. We must drive capital to ensure that we have a healthy and sustainable blue economy. And that's what Ocean 14 Capital is set up to do, to raise capital. So we're a 150 million euro impact fund, but our ambition here is to raise huge amounts of institutional capital in order that we can actually be the conduit to transform the blue economy and make sure that it is regenerative and sustainable, and therefore protect the ocean and humanity, secure hundreds of millions of jobs, and even, arguably more important, ensure that we have food security for a growing population.
So give me some examples about the investments that you're making or you're looking to make and the impact that that's going to have.
Yeah. So Ocean 14 Capital's investment thesis is all linked to SDG 14. So there's a lot of talk and action here about the global goals, and everyone is looking at that framework. And SDG 14, which is life underwater, is the most underfunded of all the goals, but arguably it is the most important because it connects everything. And if we don't have a healthy biodiversity, we're not then going to have a healthy society, a healthy economy, and then goal 17, which is peace and love for everybody. So all of our investments are focused around driving a positive impact on SDG 14. And we've broken that strategy down into two key areas, which is food security. So if we are to feed a growing population, we have to invest in blue foods. And our fund's focus is investing in sustainable aquaculture and the ecosystem around that. Sustainable fisheries, how can we drive transparency and traceability and digital marketplaces in fisheries, and alternatives to fish protein. So one of the big issues with aquaculture is that you're often feeding farmed fish, wild fish. He doesn't need a scientist to realize that that's not
doesn't sound very sustainable, does it?
So how can you create alternatives to feed farmed fish?
Like what? What is an alternative?
It could be soy, it could be algae, it could be, lab-based alternatives. Not only will that have such a positive impact on the sustainability of the fish that's farmed, but also it's the most expensive asset that a farmer has to buy. So you can improve the economics of the fish farm and improve the sustainability of the fish farm. So those are the areas that we invest in food security. And then we also look at protecting and restoring marine ecosystems. And our investment thesis there is investing in seaweed. So seaweed is growing a lot of attention in seaweed because of the wonders it has for using alginates to replace some of the chemicals in pharma, in nutrition, and the beauty industry, but also it can create biostimulants that can improve soil health. It can be used as an animal feed, that if you actually put it into cattle feed, it can have a huge impact on reducing methane emissions from cattle. And of course, all of the opportunities around natural capital with seaweed in terms of sequestering carbon, which obviously blue carbon is a big conversation here at Davos, and a huge opportunity to drive capital into driving conservation. And then lastly, in the marine ecosystems theme, is looking at plastics. How do we stop plastics getting in the ocean? And our investment theme there is around recycling, collecting, and sorting of plastics, where there's a lot of innovation and some very strong government tailwinds, pushing companies, a lot of the big FMCGs, to have recycled plastics in all their products. So
what part of the world are you working in with that?
With plastics. So we're a global fund, but because we're backed by the European Investment Fund, 2/3 of the investments will be in the EU. So we've just made an investment into a Norwegian company which has a data platform and a traceability service for circularity as a service of plastics. We're looking at some new recycling companies in Holland and in the UK, and we're looking at a plastics company in Indonesia as well. So there's a huge amount of exciting deal flow in the fund.
One of the things that when I think about the oceans that kind of scares me is when we look at this future in which digital is going to play such an enormous part, that a lot of the minerals that we need for those to fund that digital transformation, ongoing digital transformation, are located in the ocean floor. And I foresee a future in which the mining that's already starting to take place will increase. Is that something that worries you, that you think about?
I think extraction of anything from the ocean worries us if it's not done in a sustainable way. And we're very much against deep sea mining. We think that the ocean is.
How do you stop it?
Well, you need to actually create governmental laws and restrictions. So we're starting to see that on banning deep sea mining and not allowing the extraction of anything from the sea floor. It's going to be difficult, but I think it's absolutely fundamental that, as I said at the beginning of the conversation, we have to ensure that we have a healthy marine ecosystem to ensure humanity's survival. So if we start taking all of the valuable assets from the sea floor, then the ocean is just going to be completely depleted. We've already taken its most precious resource, which is fish. 90% of wild fish stocks are now gone, and the ocean is incredibly overfished, which is a huge issue that we're trying to address, both in the fund and the foundation. So anything that we can do to try to stop deep sea mining and make sure governments put a ban on that is a key focus.
Is there a government that you would say is doing something well that you would point to other governments to do like it?
In terms of marine conservation and protection, the UK government has actually done an incredible job. So they set up a Blue Belt program, which was to drive the protection of all of the British overseas territories. So ensuring that 30% of the waters were indeed protected. And the Blue Marine Foundation has been leading that with the Great British Oceans Coalition, and we've resulted in protecting some of the largest marine protected areas in the world in Ascension Island and St Helena, which is the sort of fragments of the empire. So the UK has been quite forward-looking and been a real leader in that, and they set up a huge Blue Planet Fund as well. And then there's some other countries like Chile, for example, one of the first countries to actually have 30% of their ocean protected. So a lot of countries have signed up to make sure that 30% of their territorial waters are protected, which to ensure a healthy ocean, we need to make sure that each country has its territorial water protected, so 30% of that, but then we need to ensure that the rest of the ocean is actually sustainably fished as well. You can't just have 30% protected and then 70% being, depleted. So there needs to be that balance. So the UK's done a great job, and I think Chile is another example of doing a good job. America's pretty good at managing its fisheries.
Interesting. Chris, I'd love to talk all day, but hopefully you'll come back and continue the conversation here at Hub Culture.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll be here all week here in Davos 2023, and I'm Edie Lush.